Dean Martin was running late. His driver had taken a wrong turn somewhere in Midtown Manhattan, and now they were stuck in traffic on a side street that Dean had never seen before. It was October 1966, and Dean was supposed to be at NBC Studios in 30 minutes for a meeting about his television show. He was irritated, drumming his fingers on a leather seat, watching the minutes tick by. And then he heard something that made him stop. A voice. A girl's voice floating through the open car window, singing a song he knew better than his own heartbeat. When the moon hits your eye like a big pizza pie, that's amore. Dean leaned forward, stopped the car. The driver looked confused. Sir, we're already late. The meeting, he said. Stopped the car. The driver pulled over to the curb. Dean opened the door and stepped out onto the dirty New York sidewalk, following the sound of that voice. It was coming from around the corner, from a narrow street where the shadows of tall buildings blocked out the afternoon sun. When Dean turned that corner, he saw something that would stay with him for the rest of his life. She was sitting on an overturned milk crate, her back against a brick wall covered in peeling concert posters. She could not have been more than 17 years old. She had dark hair, a thin frame, and wore a dress that had been mended too many times. At her feet was a coffee can with a few coins in it. In her hands, held close to her chest like a treasure, was a battered transistor radio that wasn't even turned on. She was singing to herself, or maybe to the handful of people who hurried past without stopping. But what made Dean's breath catch in his throat wasn't the poverty or the loneliness of the scene. It was her eyes. They were open but unfocused, staring at nothing, milky white what it should have been color. The girl was blind, and she was singing That's Amore as if she had written it herself. Dean stood at the edge of the small crowd that had gathered, maybe 6 or 7 people, most of them pausing for a moment before continuing on their way. He did not move closer. He did not announce himself. He just listened. The girl's voice was not polished. It did not have the technical perfection of a trained singer, but it had something else, something that could not be taught. It had soul. It had pain. It had a kind of desperate hope that made Dean's chest ache. She finished at Amore and moved into Everybody Loves Somebody. Dean felt a chill run down his spine. These were his songs, his signature songs. And this blind girl on a dirty street corner was singing them like prayers. A woman next to Dean nudged her companion. She's good, isn't she? I heard she's been here every day for months. Someone said she's an orphan. Dean did not respond. He just kept watching and listening. The girl made a small mistake in the second verse, hitting a flat note, and she winced visibly. She stopped singing and started again, determined to get it right. That's when Dean knew this wasn't just a girl singing for coins. This was an artist, a real artist trapped in circumstances that were slowly crushing her. When she finished, Everybody Loves Somebody. A few people clapped politely and tossed coins into her coffee can. The girl nodded in their general direction, saying, "Thank you. God bless you," to each clink of metal. The small crowd dispersed. Soon it was just Dean standing there, 10 feet away from a blind girl who had no idea she was being watched by the man whose song she had just sung. Dean's driver appeared at his elbow. "Sir, we really need to go. The meeting started 5 minutes ago." Dean did not move. "Cancel it. I said cancel it. Call NBC and tell them something came up. I'll reschedule." The driver started to protest, then saw the look on Dean's face and thought better of it. He walked back to the car and made the call. Dean approached the girl slowly, careful not to startle her. She must have heard his footsteps because she turned her head toward the sound, her unseeing eyes searching. "Who's there?" she asked. "Just someone who enjoyed your singing," Dean said. He kept his voice neutral, not wanting her to recognize him. "Not yet." The girl smiled, a small, tentative smile that transformed her thin face. "Thank you. I practice a lot. Dean Martin is my favorite." "Do you know Dean Martin?" Dean almost laughed. "I've heard of him. He's the greatest singer in the world. My mother used to play his records all the time when I was little. Before she..." The girl trailed off, the smile fading. "Anyway, I know all his songs by heart. I can't see the lyrics, so I just listen and memorize over and over until I get them right." "You got them right," Dean said softly. You got them more than right. The girl tilted her head, curious. You have a nice voice, warm like my mother's voice was. She paused. Are you gonna give me money? You don't have to. Sometimes people just stop to talk. I don't mind. It gets lonely out here, she continued. Dean reached into his pocket and pulled out his wallet. He did not have much cash on him. He rarely carried money, since everyone just gave him things for free. But he found a $20 bill and bent down to place it in her coffee can. The girl heard the rustle of paper and frowned. That sounds like paper. I can't take paper money. People try to trick me sometimes. They put newspaper in the can and pretend it's money. Dean felt a flash of anger at the cruelty of the world. It's real. I promise it's $20. The girl's face went pale. $20? I can't take that. That's too much. You must have made a mistake. No mistake. But why would you give me $20? You don't even know me. Dean was quiet for a moment. He looked at this girl, this blind orphan singing his songs on a street corner for pennies, and he felt something crack open in his chest. Something he usually kept locked away, hidden behind the jokes and the charm and the carefully constructed image of a man who did not take anything seriously. What's your name? He asked. Maria. Maria Gonzalez. Maria. That's a beautiful name. How old are you? 17. I'll be 18 in March. Where do you live, Maria? The girl hesitated. I stay at St. Catherine's. It's a shelter for girls on 47th Street. And your family? Maria's face tightened. My mother died when I was 12. My father? I never knew him. I've been at St. Catherine's for 5 years. They let me stay even though I'm almost too old now. Sister Margaret says I can stay until I figure out what to do next. She laughed bitterly. What am I going to do? I'm blind. I can't work. I can't go to school. All I can do is sing. And nobody pays blind girls to sing. Dean crouched down so he was at her level. Maria, I need to tell you something, and I need you to believe me even though it's going to sound crazy. Okay. My name is Dean Martin. Maria laughed. That's not funny. People make jokes like that sometimes. Last week, a man told me he was Elvis Presley. Then he stole the money from my can. I'm not joking, and I'm not going to steal your money. Dean paused, thinking. Then he started to sing softly, just for her. When the moon hits your eye like a big pizza pie. Maria's face changed. The skepticism melted away, replaced by something like shock. Her hands flew to her mouth. Oh my God. Oh my God. It's really you. That's your voice. I'd know that voice anywhere. I've listened to it 1,000 times. 1,000,000 times. Tears were streaming down her face now, disappearing into the collar of her worn dress. Mr. Martin, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry I sang your songs without permission. I didn't mean to. Stop, Maria. Dean said gently. You don't apologize. Not to me, and not to anyone. What you did with those songs, Maria, I've been singing that Amore for 13 years. I've sung it 1,000 times in 100 different cities. And I have never, not once, heard anyone sing it the way you just did. Really? Really? You have a gift, Maria. A real gift. The kind of gift that most singers would kill for. Maria shook her head. It doesn't matter. I can't do anything with it. I can't read music. I can't see a stage. I can't. Can you hear? Dean asked. What? I asked if you can hear. Your ears work, don't they? Yes. But then you can do anything. Music isn't about seeing. It's about feeling. It's about listening. Some of the greatest musicians in history have been blind. Ray Charles, Stevie Wonder, and now Maria Gonzalez. Maria started crying again. You're just being kind. You're Dean Martin. You're famous. You probably say nice things to everyone. Maria, Dean's voice was firm. I'm going to tell you something about myself. Something I don't tell many people. When I was a kid in Steubenville, Ohio, we had nothing. My father worked in a steel mill. My mother cleaned houses. We were poor. We were Italian. And nobody thought I would ever be anything. But somebody believed in me. A few people along the way who saw something in me that I couldn't see in myself. They gave me chances I didn't deserve. They opened doors I couldn't open on my own. He reached out and took Maria's hand. It was small and cold in his. I'm going to be that person for you. I don't know how yet. I don't know what it's going to look like. But I'm not going to walk away and forget about you. That's not who I am. Maria squeezed his hand. Why? Why would you do this for me? You don't know me. Dean smiled, though she could not see it. Because you sang my songs like they mattered. Because you practiced until you got them right. Even though nobody was paying you to. Even though nobody cared. That's what artists do. That's what I did when I was your age. I recognize it. I respect it. And I'm not going to let it die on a street corner in New York. He stood up and helped Maria to her feet. Come on. My car is around the corner. We're going to get you something to eat, and then we're going to figure out your future. But my money, she said. Dean picked up the coffee can and pressed it into her hands. Bring it. Every penny you earn today, you keep. But Maria, this is the last day you're going to need it. 3 months later, Maria Gonzalez enrolled at the Juilliard School of Music on a full scholarship. Dean Martin had made some calls. He had talked to people. He had written checks. He had done whatever it took to get a blind orphan girl from a street corner into the most prestigious music school in America. The scholarship was anonymous. Dean insisted on that. He did not want credit. He did not want publicity. He just wanted Maria to have her chance. But he did not disappear from her life. Every month, a letter would arrive at Maria's dormitory. No return address, but she always knew who it was from. The letters were short, just a few sentences, but they always said the same thing. Keep going, keep practicing, keep believing. Maria could not read them herself, of course. She would ask her roommate to read them aloud, and then she would hold the paper to her chest and cry. She graduated from Juilliard in 1970 at the top of her class. She became a voice teacher, working with young singers, many of them blind or disabled. She could not have the performing career she had dreamed of. The music industry was not kind to blind women in the 1970s, but she found something better. She found a way to give other people what Dean Martin had given her, a chance, a belief, a door that opened when all the other doors were closed. In 1985, Maria Gonzalez founded the Sound Foundation, a nonprofit organization that provides music education to blind and visually impaired children. Over the next 30 years, her foundation would help more than 10,000 young people discover their musical talents. Grammy winners, Broadway performers, symphony musicians. Many of them traced their careers back to Maria's foundation. Dean Martin and Maria stayed in touch throughout the years. He would call her on her birthday every year, without fail. They would talk for hours about music, about life, about the strange twist of fate that brought them together on that street corner in 1966. In December 1995, Maria received a phone call from Dean's daughter, Diana. Maria, I wanted you to know that Dad passed away this morning. It was peaceful. He went in his sleep. Maria could not speak. She just held the phone and wept. Before he died, Diana continued, he asked me to tell you something. He said, tell Maria she was right. Amore isn't about romance. It's about the moment when you recognize something beautiful and you can't walk away from it. She taught me that. Maria flew to Los Angeles for the funeral. She was 64 years old now. Her dark hair had turned silver. Her unseeing eyes still searched for light that would never come. She sat in the back of the church, listening to the eulogies, the songs, and the tears of family and an industry mourning the king of cool. After the service, Diana found her. Maria, I have something for you. Dad left it in his will. She pressed something into Maria's hands. It was small, metallic, and warm from being held. What is it? Maria asked. It's a gold record. His first one. The one for That's Amore. He kept it on his wall for 40 years. He wanted you to have it. Maria held the record to her chest, just like she used to hold those letters, and she cried. She cried for the man who had stopped his car on a random street corner. She cried for the chance she had been given when nobody else would give her one. She cried for 40 years of phone calls and letters and believing. He changed my life, Maria whispered. I was nobody. I was less than nobody. I was a blind girl singing for pennies. And he saw me. He heard me. He believed in me. Diana hugged her. That's who he was. That's who he really was. Not the jokes, not the drinking, not the image. Underneath all that, he was just a man who couldn't walk past someone who needed help. Maria Gonzalez died in 2019 at the age of 89. She has spent more than 50 years teaching, mentoring, and opening doors for young musicians who could not open doors for themselves. Her foundation continues to this day, funded in part by a trust that Dean Martin established anonymously in 1967. At her memorial service, one of her former students, now a world-famous opera singer, performed That's Amore. She dedicated it to two people, Maria Gonzalez, who had taught her to believe in herself, and Dean Martin, who had taught Maria the same thing on a street corner in New York 53 years before. The story of Dean Martin and Maria Gonzalez isn't in any biography. It's not in any documentary. Dean never talked about it publicly, and Maria only shared it with those closest to her. But it's the story that matters most. Not the fame, not the fortune, not the Rat Pack legend, but just a man who heard something beautiful and could not walk away from it. That's Amore. That's Dean Martin. And that's the kind of love that changes everything.